It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and now my favorite part of the show, wherein we reveal what's in Tim's background. And I'm going to guess, Tim, today it's Hunter Biden with a hooker, a gun, and a subpoena from the House Oversight Committee in the conservatory.
No, wrong Biden.
Okay. And impeachment is the
It's a
I'm good at rebuses, so this is impeachment. He's got a big peach in the background. It looks like a water tower. What is that?
That's the Georgia Peach Water Tower.
Really?
Yeah, they painted a water tower to look like a peach.
Looks like the city is Cilantro, Georgia, or is that Clanter? I can't read that in the background, but yeah, okay, that's nice. Georgia peach, like there. I would have expected like a big picture of Ty Cobb or something like that. Assaulting a handicapped person in the crowd. Anyway, yeah, there's so much to pick from with Joe Biden. And I think this was lost over the weekend. He was in Vietnam. Did not serve, of course, in Vietnam.
Really? You never know. If you've seen his latest speech, he might have said, I went back to Vietnam first time since I had served.
Oh, seriously. I always with pride say that I saw my draft number come up on the AP machine at the Medill School of Journalism, and it was number 334. And boy, was I relieved that I didn't have to go. But other people.
You're just a little bit older than me. That was something I never had to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, nobody from my year went. Nobody from the year before that I went. But we were worried about it, and
sure.
yeah, life would have been a lot different. So, but Joe Biden did serve, and then apparently he had to take a nap. I mean, it got so bad that Karine Jean-Pierre, who is an idiot herself, wound up having to save the demented one by ushering him off the stage. Yeah, he said he wrapped up his rambling Vietnam press conference by saying, "I'm going to go to bed," and at least he was honest about that.
Sure. He didn't say anything about the Jamaican nurse who keeps stealing his Kleenex.
Oh, okay, all right. That's happens.
That's how he refers to the vice president, I believe.
That's a question I've got. And Nancy Pelosi gave like one of the most left-handed compliments you could ever have of a vice president. I think she probably had better things to say about Spiro Agnew than about Kamala Harris. And it's like the Democrats do not like Kamala Harris. And I just wonder why they don't like it. It's like not liking your Frankenstein monster that you created. I don't understand that.
Well, they don't like it. They don't like it because it's a living example of why affirmative action is a bad idea.
Yeah, I know, but they're supposed to pretend. They're doing a lot of pretending about Biden, although some people aren't now.
They were able to pretend. They were able to pretend for 8 years that affirmative action works, but they can't anymore. This one's beyond their ability to pretend.
I just don't understand it. I thought they were always, pretty good about that. I mean, that's why you have the Harvard case. They're always trying to do that and trying to rectify wrongs with the reparations and putting incompetence in there. Everyone from Cheryl Burton on Channel 7 to Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States. But they're not letting up on. Yeah, and we're showing some clips here, and it's Colbert laughing with Kamala Harris. I mean, he's willing to go through the act. All these people are willing to go through the act with her, but now they're not.
Well, Nancy Pelosi's also getting to that age, much like Joe Biden, where why lie anymore?
Sure. I mean, even though she's going to run again at age 83, and Cujo's, as Michael Jordan would say to her. But, they're not lying about Biden. Something's going on right now because CNN did a thing like all day. They were recording this where they were just pointing out all the lies in his autobiography. Oh, now you're doing that? I mean, he's been lying. Why don't you just tell when he's saying the truth about things? And then there was a David Ignatius of the Washington Post, I believe, came out against him. They seem to be piling on Biden right now. And it's a dangerous thing because they don't have an alternative. That's why they're going to try and, hoist them up like Weekend at Bernie's through the next term. So I don't see any end game on this. They'd be much better at conspiracies if they got together on this. It seems like this is an ad hoc thing right now. Although and I'll contradict myself. It seems in concert because it's happening from a number of sources. They're coming out against Biden. No.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think they're hoping that they have enough time before the primaries to get someone else in there. Newsom has already declined.
Right.
Romney says he's not going to run again. So, I mean, there are no Democrats.
The thing about Romney is that, and I liked Mitt Romney. I mean, I wanted him to win. I was at that convention, in 2012, when the big thing was the national debt. Oh, sure. That resonated with the public.
If I were casting a president for 24, I would definitely want Romney. It's I think he looked more presidential than most presidents we've had.
Oh, absolutely. He looks presidential. He's a good guy. I don't think, Michael Brennan Doherty and Philip Klein, both in National Review, slammed him. And basically because, the thing about Romney is he says, for example, that, J.D. Vance, how could you eat with this guy? He did a 180 after Hillbilly Elegy and, came out to favor Trump for no good reason. Although Vance, to his credit, admitted that he had to suck it up in order to get the people of Ohio to vote for him. So, okay, he admitted it. Whereas Romney, I mean, as Jonah Goldberg once said about Romney, conservatism was a second language to him. I mean, he switched in Massachusetts. He ushered in his version of Obamacare before Obamacare, so that wasn't an issue in 2012 because of that. And he flip-flopped on abortion. I mean, this is a guy who's criticizing others for being chameleons. I don't know, Mitt, but still, look, I thought when he said that he had binders full of women, not one of which was Kamala Harris, apparently. So he had some good sense. He was ripped to shreds. And one of the reasons we got Trump is because of what they did to Romney. If you look at the headlines about Romney, the character assassination.
Oh yeah, the binders full of women, the dog on the dog on top of the car.
Sure, the 47%. Everything is how out of touch he was and horrible. And basically, Trump was our revenge for. Oh, you don't want that? You don't want a McCain war hero. You don't want George W. Bush. Well, we're going to give it to you, and we're going to give it to you hard, as Mencken said of the public and their zeal for democracy. So, speaking of, so Biden on September 11th, he's not at a commemoration of September 11th. Oh, it's fascinating. When he did speak about it, he said that he was at the World Trade Center site the next day. He wasn't. Sure. He wasn't there.
And it was like staring at the gates of hell. Yeah. Which is someone at 78 years or 80 years old with his morals. Knows that stare well.
Oh yeah. Dante is going to be welcoming him. So he wasn't there. Now, one of his fungible turkeys who justifies his existence said at the White House, well, he was there the next week. So, yeah, it's okay. He was in the ballpark. He wasn't there the next day, even though he said he was there the next day because he's just got to lie. Now, interesting thing. Sean Penn, and this is one of those things where I didn't actually read the story. I just look at the tweet and just intuit the rest. And I think I probably got it. Sean Penn, of all people, says that he would have personally and extrajudicially murdered all the 9/11 terrorists if he were president in 2001. Now, I mean, I thought Sean Penn was kind of like a Democrat pacifist. It sounds like he's like waterboarding isn't enough for this guy. I mean, hey, way to go, Spicoli. I mean, you learned your history lessons in fast time. But
well, running out of Ukraine in front of Russian tanks will do that for you.
there you go. There you go. It sobers you up pretty quickly. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Now, of course, maybe qualified it somewhat in the whole text of the story there, but I don't. Hey, look, I'm living in a Twitterverse or an Xverse or whatever it's called right now, and I don't have time for the deets on a lot on a lot of these stories. I'm kind of like Trump. Trump was interviewed by Megyn Kelly, and the guy sets himself up. She brought it up to him that he had given Fauci some presidential award, and he said, "Did I really do that?" I mean, he thought he had somebody in the administration did it. It's almost like the Obama administration said, we didn't know about this. The Clinton administration was, oh, that's old news. That's where you get moveon.org. Trump is, I don't know.
Well, Fauci's a chameleon himself. In fact, Fauci, he was doing gain of function research, so he might actually be part chameleon. He might actually have spliced chameleon DNA because he was doing the conservative talk shows in the beginning. Remember, he was.
No, you're right. I mean, it's possible. It's possible that he was bitten by a bat, or that maybe something leaked from. The Chinese lab site. So yeah, we should check him out. Okay, there's more on Biden. There's the fact that he might be impeached, which is the background for Tim today. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. And Mary, the White House deciding basically the best defense here is a good offense?
Exactly, George. The White House has been very vocal about this, adamant that the president did nothing wrong, stressing that even after 9 months of investigating, House Republicans have found zero evidence, and noting that even several Republicans, as Rachel said, note that they haven't found anything linking the president to any wrongdoing. The White House, in a statement, saying this is extreme politics at its worst. They've also sent a memo to the media urging them to ramp up scrutiny of House Republicans for what the White House is calling an impeachment inquiry based on lies. Hunter Biden's team echoing that, calling this inquiry one that is based on repackaged, inaccurate conspiracies. Now, despite all of these objections, the White House has been bracing and preparing for this, beefing up the legal team here at the White House. And while they are hoping that all of this will ultimately backfire on Republicans in the upcoming election, there is no question that politically this does create a real headache for this administration and will no doubt be a distraction. Michael.
All right. Well, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Rep. Yeah, there's no evidence of impeachment. As Eli,
there's no picture. There's no picture of the CEO of Burisma handing a big fat bag with dollar signs on the front to Joe Biden. So that's until you find that, there's no reason to impeach.
As Eli Lake tweeted, other than testimony from two of Hunter's business partners, suggestive WhatsApp messages, and an email found on Hunter's laptop, there's absolutely no evidence of presidential wrongdoing. It's amazing. There was a Tribune editorial about this, and I'm really seriously deciding to cancel my subscription to the Tribune now that it's gone up from like 8 cents a week to $15 a month for me. They had an editorial, and it took them 11 paragraphs until they said, well, there is some smoke here. And even Senator Durbin is questioning this. But for the first 10 paragraphs, it was, there's nothing here. They've got nothing. And, there are political, I'm of a mind right now that, yes, in the old days when you impeached, it didn't redound to your benefit. I mean, it didn't seem to help very much, probably hurt. I mean, the Clinton impeachment, maybe even the Trump impeachments. But, nowadays, it's just another tool. I don't think you could go wrong either way. It's going to bring attention to what Hunter did and how much Biden was involved in it. And we've kind of become a nerd to it. It's not that shocking to see an impeachment now that we've had, a couple or three of them. So I don't think anybody's going to be all that disappointed if it doesn't go anywhere. We already know the result. He's not going to be convicted. So
looking back, I kind of supported the Clinton impeachment, but looking back, it was probably a bad idea.
Well, I mean, politically it was because everybody just thought,
but more than politically, I think constitutionally, it's exactly what you just said. It actually made impeachment commonplace, whereas before it was such an awful thing that Nixon didn't even want the country to go through it.
Well, I mean, that's the old
the Republicans.
standards.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's the Republicans who turned it into a political.
Look, we've defined deviancy down or whatever. In the old days, I mean, if you weren't a World War II or World War I fighter pilot or something, you didn't even get nominated most of the time for president. Then Clinton was a draft dodger. Clinton was. It was. I'm not saying it was wise politically, and it is a political procedure, and they should have done it. But there was justification. I mean, didn't he lie before a federal grand jury? I mean, that's something now. But it was just taken. It was taken as, hey, it's just about sex. That's all.
Was it a federal grand jury, or was it was a civil trial? So he lied in a deposition.
Well, I know he lied in a deposition. I'm trying to remember if he lied before a grand jury too. I mean, he may have. I know that he lied in some judicial proceeding. Yeah, I mean, well, that depends on what the definition of lying is or is. But I don't think it will really hurt that much. If they go ahead with it and it doesn't go anywhere, because I don't think anybody's expecting it to go anywhere, and but it'll still draw attention. And it's funny because I think Speaker McCarthy, a much maligned Speaker McCarthy, was challenged by an AP reporter. Well, you don't have any evidence here, and then he recites chapter and verse.
That was wonderful. It got her to agree that maybe there is.
Well, the thing is that, and he doesn't talk in generalities. It's like, well, then there was this dinner that night at that restaurant, and he ordered this, and I mean, he knew all the details. And it's tough when they actually come up with.
Do you deny that he had 2 appetizers?
Right.
No, I can't deny that, Speaker.
Yeah, no, it's tough when they come up with the concrete illustrations. And the problem is if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, there just might be a smoking gun.
Mark Levin actually had I think this is interesting.
Don't ever mention Mark Levin to me. He got the job that I wanted for us, replacing John Howell. Oh my God. Go ahead.
Well, they haven't replaced him yet, though.
Well,
they've got the 2 to 3 slot open. So maybe our producer can put in a.
Why don't we just offer to just throw this, I know we're on a station right now in Northwest Indiana, but why don't we just, here, just throw this on the air. We'll edit out all the swearing and everything like that.
So anyway, what he said is the easiest thing to get him on, get the president on, is conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agent Registration Act.
Okay.
It's because he obviously did. He knew Hunter had not registered, and he knew he was taking Hunter to meet foreign agents.
Yeah.
So
it's just that doesn't. You know what? You know what the problem is? The
not
Foreign
sexy.
Service.
Is that not sexy?
Isn't that the thing that Paul Manafort that they tried to get him?
Tried.
It did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, we've got to go one better. I mean, we can't play their game. I mean, it's got to be like murder or something. But here's the thing.
No, I disagree. We got to play their game.
We're playing their game.
You can't do Marcus of Queensbury in a street.
No, I understand it. Here's what we got. We got dough. We got all kinds of money. We got shell corporations, and we got pseudonyms for the vice president. I mean, if that doesn't look like he's getting money somehow, I mean, how dumb do you have to be? Everybody believes that he got money. Everybody believes that he's giving it to his family members. And I mean, who doesn't believe that? Who was it that
told the reporter? I can't remember who it was. The reporter said something, no evidence, and he said, "Have you seen his houses?"
Gee. I mean,
that's all the evidence you need that he was corrupt.
It's just, what I love is that, okay, oh no, there's nothing here on Biden, But Clarence Thomas took a vacation on a jet that Ruth Bader Ginsburg got him on through several of her husband's clients. I mean, really, it's just, oh no, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Clarence Thomas, he's evil. Oh my God. I mean, it's the willful blindness on this is no, but they know it. And it's not going away. I know Hunter was indicted on the gun charges. Well, they had to do that. Meanwhile, they let everything else go for the statute of limitations or whatever. And you know, we'll see if he's actually. It'd be nice if he were called on to testify in his father's impeachment trial. That would be cool. Anyway, you had a tweet about the irony of electric vehicles. Didn't we have the Secretary of Transportation? What did she?
Jennifer Granholm, former governor of Michigan. So,
right.
Said wanted to promote electric vehicles. So she got a caravan of electric vehicles that she was going to drive all the way from North Carolina to Tennessee, which is a major road trip that a gasoline vehicle could make in about 3 hours. But they ran out of juice. So they went to a charging station and couldn't find a plug. So they actually sent their advance team, which drove gasoline vehicles,
of course,
over to the next charging station, and then blocked off the charging station so people couldn't get their cars charged.
And this is your government at work.
Yeah. And my opinion is that EVs are great for long road trips as long as you got a gasoline car in your advance team.
Right. I mean, it's just, well, you know, some of these things you got to work out the bugs. Remember the bugs for Obama with Obamacare. When the website didn't work and everything. You got to work all that out.
Here's the thing. Technology that people want to adopt, you don't really have to work out the bugs. It's pretty much ready to go. Right. We went from flip phones to iPhones within 5 years, the entire country. They're ubiquitous now. And it didn't require government funding. It didn't require subsidies. Wait a minute.
What about the high-speed rail in California? How's that doing? That's doing very well, right? You can't force technology on people. Either they like it or they don't. No, right. That's the marketplace. The late stage capitalism. How bad that is. So turning over to Chicago right now, guess what? There's going to be a $500 million shortfall in the Chicago budget.
Shortfall.
And there was a tweet.
That's a high cliff.
There's a tweet. I hope that Chris can put this up, but it was how it was going to relate and how it was going to be viewed by a number of alderpersons. Yeah, it's from the Sun-Times. A tweet: Chicago faces a $538 million budget shortfall in 2024, with $200 million of it tied to the migrant crisis.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, influential alderpersons were told Tuesday. I submit that there is a causal nexus between the budget shortfall and the use of terms like alderpersons, because this is the kind of society that we live in. We love all the cosmetics about making sure all the pronouns are correct, but we can't afford anything.
Are we sure that all the alder persons identify as persons?
It's a good question. An excellent question. But I do love that a third of it is...
maybe we should call them alderinks.
Right. But maybe we should just let some of the migrants take over. They probably couldn't pay themselves as much as the city of Chicago has. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
On Monday, Washington Post journalist Laura Vozella reported that Democratic candidate Susanna Gibson, who is running for the House of Delegates seat in the 57th, quote, performed sex acts with her husband for a live audience and encouraged viewers to pay them with tips.
Weekly Wrap, and Chris, our producer, has titled this segment Bruce's Porn Corner, and I guess it's because we have that, story, as well as Senator Kennedy reading from Porn for Kids, which is it's not the Senator Kennedy that I'd like to hear. You know, I'd like to hear Teddy having done it. Yes. But instead it's that guy with a Southern accent whom I might like a lot. But first of all, so this woman is really upset because she's running for the Virginia State House. What did she have sex with her husband? And they showed this. They had videos.
More than that. She said one of the things is she had sex with two guys other than her husband.
Oh, okay.
And said, I had sex 3 times today. Don't tell my husband he was the third.
Oh, okay. And remember, Jack Ryan didn't get to beat Barack Obama because he had sex with his own wife, I believe,
or wanted to at a sex club.
Right.
As I think I said last week, is because he wanted witnesses.
Yeah, sure.
Because you can't brag about Jerry Ryan if you don't have someone to back you up.
I totally get that. I totally get that. So, but she's upset because it's not supposed to be spread out there on the internet,
so to speak.
But you know, she was the one who put it out there. I mean, it wasn't like she was doxxed. So
yeah, you know, and the thing is, how many people, how many men in Virginia are going to go, you know, I thought she looked familiar.
Sure. Yeah. I
will say now that this scandal has come out, I would bet that she's probably the number one trending star on where's she at? OnlyFans, or is she on something else? Chatterbait, I think, is what she's on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I'm not too much interested in Virginia politics unless, you know, Glenn Youngkin is going to be running for
it's kind of ironic. It's kind of ironic to you know, to actually say that a whore doesn't have the high enough moral standards to be in Congress. When you think about it, though,
according to Chris, it's called chatterbait, and I don't want to discover the etymology of that neologism, but portmanteau, whatever. Okay, so let's move on to Senator Kennedy. And I mean, this was hysterical because our very own Alexei Giannoulis was before Congress talking about this new Illinois law, which is going to set the trend for the United States, wherein you can't just let any old parent come in and get a book thrown out of a library merely because it mentions anal sex. So
graphically, more graphically than I knew.
Yeah. So and I saw, you know, on Twitter, I mean, Senator Kennedy reading this. I mean, and it's hysterical because, you know, that, you know, here he's in the august Senate building, and he's a senator, and he's just, I mean,
sounds a little like Foghorn Leghorn.
A little bit, you know. I mean, sure, the Reverend Jackson reading from Green Eggs and Ham was a little bit funnier, but this packed a wallop too. Boy,
you're loaded with euphemisms today.
Yeah. Or double entendres, or both. And so there was a story in the Tribune about this, and I ripped the Tribune earlier for their editorial about impeachment. Now I'd like to rip them for their coverage of this story, because Rick Pearson, the Tribune writer, wrote about this. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm confusing with the other story, it took him 16 paragraphs before he actually got to the meat, as it were, of the objection to this law. And even at that, he did not quote Senator Kennedy quoting from any of these books, because, well, I guess, you know, Tribune readers are a little too delicate to get this, but your kid, of course, should be exposed to this in the public school library. I mean, we're talking about a law regarding public school libraries, and it's going to be determined by the American Library Association or whatever, what should be banned and what shouldn't be banned. Now, I'm sure they're selective in what they put in the library. They don't just put anything in there. I don't think, for example, I don't think that you could have a book, if there ever was one, on the benefits of lynching, for example. I don't think you'd have it in that library. So I mean,
Well, a really good example is that Mike Huckabee just wrote a book on President Trump, a kid's book on President Trump. And I wonder how many school libraries will be carrying that book.
Oh, sure.
And, and if you think about it, that's a great book. If it was a book on Abraham Lincoln, well, sure, of course you'd carry it. If it was
I don't
George
know
Washington.
if you can carry one on that racist Abraham Lincoln.
But it is interesting that you. I would like to buy book. If I had the money, I would buy Mike Huckabee's book for every school library in America.
Well, I would buy Mike Huckabee's book if he would agree never to speak again on the radio or anything. That's the deal I would make with Mike.
I don't
Huckabee.
care if he speaks. Just to put down the guitar.
That too. So Cujo's, as Michael Jordan would say, to capital facts. They're pretty even-handed. They ripped Stacey Davis Gates. You know who she is? She's the president of the Chicago Teachers Union.
Sure.
They caught her sending her kid to a Chicago Catholic school when, of course, she made it a campaign pledge or whatever when she was becoming the CTU president to say, well, she's got the cred because she keeps her kids in the Chicago public schools. And, of course, she's kept funding away from this semi-private legislation that would allow a handful of kids to get a halfway decent education because it's not sanctioned by the Chicago Teachers Union. And so this capital facts really goes into the details because for one thing, she just said on a podcast that Ben Jurafsky has, I can have it any goddamn way I want to with my children. My children are not political cudgels. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are. Madam CTU president. She,
well, in her defense, who is better equipped to know how many bad teachers there are in the teachers union than the president?
Well, considering that, I think it's something like 3 teachers have been fired in the last 15 years or something like that. I don't think that's an exaggeration either on my part.
And that's just because they didn't show up for work all year.
I don't know if that might get you in the rubber room, but I don't know if it was get you fired. So as Capital Facts says, Davis Gates lives only 3 miles from Gwendolyn Brooks College Prep, a high-quality selective enrollment high school, which has a soccer team, which her kid apparently wanted, and extracurricular activities. Lindblom Math and Science Academy in the West Englewood neighborhood is a pretty darn good soccer team. It is 6 miles from the Union president's home. The Catholic school that her son is attending is 9 miles from her home. So even, if you argued on her own terms, she's full of it. And, there's charter schools as well. But, we see lots of examples of liberal hypocrisy, but I don't think you're going to get a much better example than this one. And you know what the thing is that
John Kerry on a private plane.
That's good. That's good. But you know what the thing is that she's right on the cusp of saying, you know what? I'm a woman and I can say whatever I want and I don't have to make sense. It's on the cusp of that. Because it doesn't make any sense. She's been ripped by just about everybody. But she's still the president of the Chicago Teachers Union, right? There ain't going to be any reform regarding that. Speaking of people saying what to feel, did you see this? Mike Lindell swore at his deposition. I don't know. Yeah. You know what? I think
the guy was mocking his pillows.
Oh, sure.
The guy was saying that his pillows were lumpy.
Yeah. The attorney, I would object to the attorney. What is it? What does that have to do with the case at bar? Lindell screamed at the lawyer and he called him an a-hole, I guess. And, Lindell's right about that. First of all, I think that we could take judicial notice of the fact that my pillows are darn good. But as far as whether Mike Lindell has any evidence, I
think that would actually be a great commercial. If you don't think these are the best pillows you ever slept on, you're an a-hole.
Right. Take it to him, Mike Lindell. So I didn't mind him saying that to the attorney. So but for far-fetched things, the New Mexico governor apparently decided to suspend the Constitution of the United States under the emergency powers that she has as the governor, and I guess had suspended the New Mexico's conceal and carry law.
Yeah, just for 1 month, just for 1 month to flatten the curve.
To flatten the curve.
So it was only going to be a month.
Oh,
you know
okay.
that it wouldn't be any longer than 30 days.
Sure, because these
that.
emergency orders never never carried on in perpetuity. So yeah. And she's been ripped soundly by just about everybody, including liberal Democrats. And finally,
I think it was a trial balloon, actually. I think
okay.
Because they want to do the same thing with climate change. They want a national.
Oh, right, sure.
So she wanted to see if it works with. Let's start with the Second Amendment, and then we'll just go for all personal liberties.
No, it's kind of like let's get Obergefell through the Supreme Court, and the next thing you know, you got Dylan Mulvaney and the Bud Light cans. I get that. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Americans, we need to go back to like taking women out of the workforce, and maybe that is where you guys. We let women vote. No offense, but let me I want to tell you guys something. Think about America prior to women voting. They try to ban alcohol. I don't even drink, but I'm not trying to ban alcohol. So what you did, man, you let these women come in the workforce. Now we make less money. You got kids raising themselves in TikTok. We need to go back to like 1942, especially after, maybe 1958 after the Germans. We need to put women back in the kitchen. Only one man needs to be working.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And
my gosh.
I never heard of this Sean Strickland of the UFC, but I wouldn't argue with him about anything, no matter what he'd say. But he was basically saying that women should be back in the kitchen. And what I was hoping was that because the Score Sports, the progressive sports radio station in Chicago, they talk about sports. I was hoping that they would comment on this obvious case of misogyny on his part, except of course they don't have any women at the Score to comment on it. Well, they do have one who's on one day a week. And as I have said so many times, I'm even bored with it myself. Yes, that makes her 1/5 of the person. Even the slaves were 3/5 human are considered. So, what do you make of this? Sean Strickland wants to go back to Barbara Billingsley with the string of pearls and welcoming Hugh Beaumont home to have lunch with or dinner with the beaver.
Well,
and the children as well. But go ahead.
There you go again. I think that's the third one today.
So, what do you think? What do you make of this?
I couldn't get away with doing that at a comedy club.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's and I like how we took it all the way back to women's suffrage. That's where the problem. Yeah, once we allow them to vote, the next thing Kennedy's in office.
Right. Now, I actually didn't read listen to the clip itself because I'm lazy, but I did read the tweet, saying that he's wrong for saying this. However, I do have to say this. I was just reading an article. There are these guys who cannot get dates now. And there's a shortage of women for them, and they would otherwise, in maybe another era, had been very eligible bachelors. They say you're
talking outside China, right?
Right. I'm talking about right here in these United States. There's a thing called the 666 rule. You got to be 6 feet tall. You got to make 6 figures, and you got to have 6 inches. And here's the problem. A lot of women are making, $100,000 themselves. So they're not. And the interesting thing is that, and this has been pointed out by Tucker Carlson, and he's not wrong about everything. Women tend not to go for men who make less money than they do. Now, it's not universal, but they tend to want somebody who makes more money than they do.
Oh yeah, because you know what? Because you know what happens after divorce. It's not. Alimony is not divided by gender.
Right.
It's divided by income.
Yeah.
So,
Right. No, but I'm saying, so this is held over. It's like part of their DNA, if I may, that they want this, but at the same time they want to be thoroughly modern millies, and they don't and they want equality. Well, they don't want equality. They seem to want the men to be superior and make more money than they do. Again, this is not universal, but it seems to make a lot of men not eligible, and that's very disturbing. I feel sorry for these guys. I mean, if they're high school educated, but that's it. There's a ceiling to what they're going to earn, and they're not going to be attractive to these women. So let us pause now for
it's a lot of them are accused of being Trump supporters too, and I think that's where the term incel came from.
Yeah,
is that these conservative men, they want conservative women. They don't want a crazy career woman who lives with a dozen cats.
Well, I mean, the career women, and here's the thing: women, there's no question they're as talented or more talented than men at the jobs that they perform, but they want it both ways too, right? A lot of them do, not all of them. So, but I'm so fearful of talking about this, to our little
it is ironic is that they want equal pay, but then they want unequal pay when it comes to a relationship.
Well, first of all, and equal pay is such a canard, and you can save big money.
I know.
I mean, because they're not taking
11% off everything this weekend only.
They're not there. There is equal pay. It does, when you factor in, I don't want to work full time. I want flex time, that kind of stuff. So in any event, the next big question, of course, is, are the Chicago Bears racist because they refuse to invest in an offensive line, and this makes their black quarterback Justin Fields look bad? I don't know if you saw the game on Sunday. I assume you did.
I heard about it.
Yeah,
I heard it was not pretty.
You were spared. I mean, it was actually a boring game for a while. It was only 7-6, and then everything bad that could happen did happen to the Bears in the game, and there's been a lot of frustration among the fans for a lot of years now. So it was like the worst opening day loss in 20 years.
Well, and there's nothing worse than losing to the Packers.
Well, I mean, that is really bad, especially the Packers who don't have Aaron Rodgers. Of course, the next day we got the
nobody does.
Nobody's got Aaron Rodgers. O.J. Simpson actually tweeted about it, and he said, well, 9/11 isn't good for New York. And way to go trivializing 9/11, O.J. Simpson.
Well, the joke I heard all over the internet was another jet went down.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. Okay, sure. I won't even tell that one. In any event, I thought Rodgers' confidence was going to be shaken going into the game, because then he realized that anybody could own the Bears, including his successor, Jordan Love. But back to the question of whether so there's so much tweeting about the Bears, and there's so many guys who are analyzing this, and they've got the tape to back up what they say, and they're all really good. That there's this idea that if you don't think Justin Fields has it to be the Bears quarterback, you're just there's a racial undertone to it. Oh, he's just a running quarterback. And then, of course, then people get defensive and say, well, give him the offensive line, and blame it on everybody else. Meanwhile, I should say that Mayor Johnson of Chicago had tweeted before the game on Sunday. He predicted a 12-5 season for the Bears. So this is the guy who has gotten you a $538 million deficit. And
also being blamed on racism.
Oh, sure. Well, you see that the mayor wants to, because no grocery stores will open up on the south and west sides. I mean, they've tried and they failed. And so he wants to have a city-owned grocery store.
I love that idea.
And you know what could possibly go wrong with that?
I gotta tell you, I love that idea. The checkout girls are what?
Well, the checkout girls, how much money they'll be making. And NBC locally learned what was spent on migrants at one $56 million spent on staffing for the migrants. For 1 week, the facility manager at the Truman College shelter received $14,000. The shelter manager got $14,000 for 1 week, and a nurse made $20,000 in 1 week.
Wow.
What are you doing stand-up comedy for, Tim?
I could just picture a city-owned. This is where you got to wait in line 3 hours to get a parking ticket squared away. Could you imagine the lines out that grocery store and around the corner?
I'm just imagining what kind of products they're going to be selling, because theoretically, the city's going to put in, good food that you're supposed to eat, fruits and vegetables. And, nobody wants to buy that. I've told you that that I was the foreperson on a federal jury for food stamp fraud, the link card fraud. And these grocery stores were basically turning themselves into currency exchanges on the West Side and taking the vigorish on getting some and giving people cash so that they could buy what they wanted and not buy healthy food, which is what the government wants you to buy. So you can be sure that unless they're stocking up on what people really want.
Well, that's why liquor stores sell milk. Okay. Let's be honest. They sell milk and they got a basket of fruit, and that's so they can claim that they were selling food so they can take food stamps.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. It goes back to what you said before. It's only what people will buy. I mean, you can't force electric cars on people. You can't force good food on people. It's just not going to work. All the do-gooders, there's reasons that these stores have not worked. There have been studies that have shown, I think the University of Chicago, the Booth School showed that, that it's rich people who like to eat healthy. Okay. They can afford to do that and they want to. Poor people, hey, what do they get to enjoy? A nice big Burger King Whopper, okay, and fries, and it fills you up, and they're not going to, be on the keto diet.
I don't understand why Burger King doesn't take food stamps. Because if you really think about it, it's discriminatory. Because Burger King is that's where working parents go to take their kids to eat, because it's cheap and it's quick, and they don't have time to cook or shop or anything. It's easy. So why are we denying that to poor people?
Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, give us your link cards. We're in business for you. All right. We'll workshop that. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.